My dear students, good morning to all. This is my lecture 2 of atomic structure. I am going to teach you about Thomson's atomic model. This is Thomson's atomic model. J.J. Thomson was the first to give atomic model, which is called as Thomson's atomic model. J.J. Thomson in 1898 proposed that an atom is a sphere of positive charge, that is sphere of protons, in which electrons, the negatively charged particles, are embedded sufficient to neutralize the positive charge. So the electrons are embedded like the plum in pudding. What do you mean by embedded? Embedded means the electrons are enclosed like the plum in pudding. The radius of this positive sphere is approximately 10 to power inverse 10 meter, which is equal to the size of the atom. My dear students, you write down the notes clearly, neatly and legibly, because notes are very important in reading, and once writing is equal to 100 times reading. Writing connects your brain to hand. Therefore, you write down perfectly all these notes. Dear students, there is a repulsion between similar charges, repulsion between electrons and electrons, protons between protons and protons. So the atom is stable according to J.J. Thomson due to the balance between the repulsive forces between the electrons and their attraction towards the center of positive sphere. Simultaneously, repulsive force and attractive force balance each other, therefore atom is stable. The mass of the atom, that is weight of the atom, is assumed to be uniformly distributed over the atom. This model is compared with a watermelon in which seeds are embedded, black seeds are embedded, or pudding in which raisins or dried grapes are embedded. Embedded means what? They are enclosed. That is why this model is sometimes called as plum pudding model or watermelon model. Dear students, write down these notes. Dear students, we will now know about what are the limitations of Thomson's atomic model. First limitation is it could not satisfactorily explain the result of scattering experiments, that is gold foil scattering experiments carried out later by Ernest Rutherford in 1911 and was rejected. Second limitation is Rutherford was forced to discard the plum pudding model because the positively charged alpha particles were being repelled. Repelled means away from each other, were being repelled and deflected Deflected means the particles gone through wider angles towards any other direction. Alpha particles are being repelled and deflected by a tiny concentration. Tiny concentration, what is tiny? Tiny means extremely small. Tiny concentration of positive charge in the atom, which is called as nucleus. That's why Rutherford discarded the Thomson's atomic model based on these observations. My dear students, you write down these notes clearly and legibly. Dear students, this is Rutherford's scattering experiment in which nucleus was discovered. In, in 1911, Ernest Rutherford gave a clear picture about the structure of atom. He produced alpha particles. Alpha particles, what is alpha particle? Doubly charged helium nucleus. Helium, He, whose atomic number is 2 and mass number is 4. He produced alpha particles, doubly charged helium nucleus, which is He2 plus from a radioactive element like radium, and bombarded it. Bombarded means what? Attack it with a thin sheet of gold. Thin sheet, very extremely thin sheet of gold, whose thickness is 0.00004 centimeter. Let's see, my students. This is gold foil whose thickness is 0.00004 centimeter, and alpha particles were produced from radioactive element like radium, and these particles were bombarded, struck, attack with this thin sheet of gold, and Rutherford observed. What he observed? Most of the alpha particles passed straight through the gold foil without any deflection. This means most of the alpha particles pass through the gold foil undeflected. These are undeflected alpha particles. And few alpha particles, when struck at the center of the few alpha particles, were deflected at wider angles after passing through the gold foil. And 1 out of 20,000 alpha particles deflected backwards after retracing the path. This is 1 alpha particles deflected backwards after passing through the gold foil by retracing the path. What do you mean by the retracing the path? Go back over the same path, that is retracing the path. So most of the alpha particles passed straight through the gold foil. It was concluded that most of the atom in an atom is empty, and few alpha particles deflected through wider angles after passing through the gold foil. That indicates that there is a very tiny positive charge at the center of atom, which causes deflection to the alpha particles. And 1 out of 20,000 alpha particles retrace backwards after passing through the gold foil. Retracing means, what do you mean by retracing? Retracing means go back over the same path. This is Rutherford's scattering of alpha particles. These are undeflected alpha particles. These are deflected alpha particles, and these alpha particles retrace the path. Retrace the path means after passing through the gold foil, go back over the same path. These are the directions indicated. This direction and these directions are opposite to each other. My dear students, write down these notes. Dear students, just now I have taught you regarding this experiment. It was found that most of alpha particles pass straight through the gold foil without changing their path. Only a very few alpha particles, this, and this, like these particles, were deflected through wider angles after passing through the gold foil. Only one out of 20,000 particles, was deflected backward, retracing the path. The meaning of retracing, I have explained you. Retracing means go back over the same path. Only one out of 20,000 alpha particles was deflected backward by retracing the path. My students, write down and neatly draw the diagram. Dear students, what are the observations Rutherford made in his scattering experiments? First observation is, since most of the alpha particles pass through the gold foil undeflected, it is concluded that most of the space in an atom is empty. Otherwise, if it was not empty, alpha particles could not have gone through the gold foil, could not have passed through the gold foil. Second observation is, further the deflection of positively charged few alpha particles, I have told you earlier, few alpha particles deflected through wider angles. So, further the deflection of positively charged few alpha particles shows that there is a small but heavy positively charged mass called nucleus present at the center of the atom, which causes repulsion to the positively charged alpha particles, because we know similar charges repel each other. So few deflection of alpha particles through wider angles prove that there is a small or a tiny but a heavy positively charged body, which is called nucleus, situated or present at the center of the atom, which causes repulsion to the positively charged alpha particles. My dear students, in next lecture, I will teach you regarding Rutherford's atomic model, Bohr's atomic model, atomic number, mass number, isotopes, isobars, etc. Thank you, my students. Please note down carefully all these points.